What's up, guys? Rick here with your betting and one and done preview for this week's Shriners Children's Open. And this is a critical week. Not only is it here in Vegas, and I am credentialed media, so I'm headed out there as soon as this video is done being recorded. I'm going to go check everything out, see what's going on with the course and the players, and hope to have some nice intel for the Wednesday live chat. That's 3 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, Rick Run Good YouTube channel. There's also an 8:15 p.m. Eastern time Jock Market Power Hour. That's all things stock market DFS. If you have not tried out that format, you're missing out and you're losing money. The amount of money that's available is kind of crazy, and you don't need a lot to start. The final live show this week will be on Friday. That is a cut sweat show, and I actually messed this up because I said on the DFS preview, and I had to correct myself that there wouldn't be one, but there is a cut this week. So there is a cut sweat show. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday. That will be a data-driven cut sweat show. Join me for that. But for now, we're going to go through some outright options. We're going to go through some head-to-heads. And if you are in a one-and-done league that needs a pick, we're going to talk about it. Let's go. What you're looking at right now is the tournament predictor tool on RickRunGood.com. This is a tool that simulates the event 1,000 times, posts the results, and then compares them to the odds that you can find available at 5 large sports books. And if you want to wager on them, you can click this button right here, find free bets in your state, and they'll probably give you hundreds of dollars in free bets to go place it because the industry is absolutely crazy right now. Brooks Koepka won 8.5% of my simulation. Now, I'll tell you, my simulation does not know whether this is a major or not. My simulation does not know what Brooks is up to in Vegas this week. My simulation looks at his course fit, looks at his recent form, looks at his upside, and says he's going to win this golf tournament 8.5% of the time, which, quite frankly, is a real value across the board. And all of these guys, basically at the top, are values. There are weeks we don't see any values, but here's what odds makers did this week. They took everybody, 8, 10, 12 guys, and put them all between 18 and 28 to 1 and said, have at it. And we are having at it. So basically anybody that you bet up top, there's kind of already a lot of built-in value. So there are some weeks where you can go wrong betting the top. This week, I'm not sure you could go wrong betting the top. Just in terms of the simulated results versus versus their implied odds, thanks to the odds from these bookmakers. So Brooks Koepka, number 1 in my simulation, wins at 8.5% of the time. Abraham Answer and Harris English are 2 and 3, 7.6 and 7.4. Webb Simpson and Victor Hovland, 6.9 and 6.7. And then Louis Oosthuizen rounds out the 6%. Everyone else lower than that. Couple of interesting notes here. There is a big drop-off from Sam Burns to Kevin Na. Sam Burns, I have winning this event 4.9% of the time. Big drop-off to Kevin Na and the rest of the players. Kevin Na, 3.1% of the time. Everybody lower than that. Let's talk through a couple of options here that I have found incredibly interesting. There are 3 at the top. Now, you're probably not going to be able to bet all 3 of them, although if you want to, go for it. But 3 at the top. Abraham Answer, number 1. This is a course that as long as you're not in the desert, you're going to have a chance. It's a par 71. It's very short by tour standards on par 71s. The greens are large. There's going to be just a lot of guys with birdie looks. And Abraham Answer's best surface by far is bent grass. He gains over a quarter of a stroke per round on bent grass surfaces. He's coming off a win a couple of starts ago at the WGC FedEx St. Jude, so he's broken through that ceiling. He is accurate. He's a great approach player. This is desert golf. We've seen him play well at, the American Express. This should be a really good spot for him. So Abe Answer, number 1. Number 2 is Webb Simpson. And I talked a lot about this on the DFS preview. Webb Simpson is never given the credit for his course history here at Shriners that he should. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's only played here, I think 9 or 10 times. I shouldn't say only. That's quite a few. And you look at his recent results. He's never lost strokes on approach in his last 10 trips. He's never lost strokes tee to green in his last 10 trips. He's piled up top 20 finishes. He won in 2013. He's kind of coming off a weird year, right? It was a weird year for Webb Simpson, dealt with an injury and illness, and now you can get him as long as 30 to 1. FanDuel's hanging a 30 to 1 number on Webb Simpson. I think he wins it, or the simulation thinks he wins it 7% of the time. I think it's a great bet to make. The other one, So the two I'm most excited about are Simpson and Victor Hovland, with Abraham Ancer kind of being a third, but those three are kind of the clear three for me at the top. Victor Hovland, to me, the ball striking is so incredibly impressive, and you get this great floor. And I think what most people are going to say is, well, Rick, he didn't play very well at the Ryder Cup. False. Played great. Got unlucky. Ran into a buzzsaw. His birdie per hole rate was that of Scotty Scheffler's and Sergio Garcia's. And the point differences are stark. Don't let that fool you. He will go this week as far as his putter allows him. If he gains strokes putting, he might just win this golf tournament. He is that good on approach, that good tee to green. He's gained strokes on approach in 10 consecutive measured events. He's gained strokes tee to green in 10 of his last 11. This feels like a really good spot for him to tap into it. So those are my top three. It's Webb, it's Hovland, it's Ancer in some type of order. If you can bet all three or want to bet all three, that's fine. If not, you can go further down the board. I don't mind a card that is tight at the top. You know, there's 8 to 12 really good, viable names at the top of this board. I'm okay betting 3 of them and moving on with my week and seeing what happens instead of trying to build one in the 20s, one in the 40s, one in the 60s, 2 in the hundreds, whatever it's going to be. I'm okay with doing that. So that might be your card right there. If you want to go further, let me point a couple of things out. Patrick Reed, 40-1 at both DraftKings and PointsBet at the moment, 33-1 at BetMGM, 33-1 at Caesars. That's a joke. It's a joke. 9-time winner on the PGA Tour. You can play the narrative game with Reed being snubbed. He might just burn this place to the ground. It does not require distance. If he can find the fairway, if he can roll the rock, he's really good on a lot of surfaces, but he's really good on bent grass. This is a spot for Reed. The win equity compared to his peers. Look at the guys he's with. Matthew Wolff, Corey Connors, Paul Casey, even Sung Jae Im. It's a joke. His win equity is just so much better than those guys. Another thing I'll point out here in the middle, and I don't love this 40-50-1 range. I'll point this out. The fact that Joaquin Niemann and Matthew Wolff are both basically the same odds across the board, 40-1, 45-1, 50-1, doesn't make any sense to me. I have a hard time reconciling that. And I understand that books don't want to get burned on Matthew Wolff, but look at Joaquin Niemann. He was great last year. Outside of the last 3 events, he putted like he has never seen a golf club before. And that is unlike him. He is a much better putter than the last 3 events in which he lost about 11 or 12 strokes putting. He's much better than that. And you usually feel like when you've had a month off, you've had a month to get right, you've had a month to get back to your original DNA, that's what's going to happen. So I'm pretty bullish for Joaquin Niemann here out of the gate, especially when he's getting hung at the same number as Matthew Wolff, who I have a lot more concerns about. And it's just, we haven't seen any of the play nearly as good. So it does not make sense to see him at that number. There's probably only one other outright that I would make further down the board, and it's Ricky Fowler. And I know that's crazy, but you can get Ricky 100-1 at BetMGM, PointsBet, and Caesars. 100-1. This is a one-time only offer, guys. This is a one-time only offer. We have been trying to be late on Ricky Fowler for the last 15 months, 18 months, and it has been successful because he has not burned us. There is now one crack at being early, and it's not going to cost you much because he's 80-1 or he's 100-1. Bentgrass, by far, his best surface. We saw some glimpses at the end of last year. If you look at, and I showed this on the DFS preview, you look at all the players who have played at TPC Summerlin in the last 11 years, the best putter with at least 5 rounds is Ricky Fowler. 2 months off to kind of figure this out. It's a one-time only offer. This is not where, I like to, I'm guilty of this with Sam Burns, right? I bet Sam Burns a lot of weeks because I think he can win a lot of weeks. This is a one-time offer on Ricky Fowler. We wait and we see. If he plays well, this number is going to get cut in half the following week. This is it. You get one crack at this and it's not going to cost you much. So I think this is an opportunity to pull the trigger. Outside of that, it's probably just a lot of top 10, top 20 type bets for me on guys that are further down the board. There is Garrick Higo has kind of gotten on my radar recently, and I'll tell you why. I went on the Golf Digest Be Right podcast this week, and Steve Hennessy was talking about Garrick Higo, and I was like, okay, let's talk about Garrick Higo. And you start to lay out the idea that, when he won at Palmetto, it's almost desert golf. It's obviously not, but remember Palmetto, there was no rough. If you missed the fairway, you were just like in the sand or whatever. If you miss the fairway at Summerlin, it's not in all cases, obviously, but like you're just in the desert. Like if you just avoid being in the desert, you're fine because the rough is not very penal. So you look at that, you look at the fact that he's a UNLV guy, you look at the fact that he doesn't need distance and he can roll the rock well enough. That's kind of an interesting path for a winner on tour last year at 150 to 1, basically across the board. I will also tell you, if you want to go very, very long, Harry Hall, and I tweeted this out, plays out of TPC Summerlin, shot a 60 there last week, his personal best. Maybe he can carry those vibes over. He's 300 or 400 or even 500 to 1, depending on where you're looking. Other guys that play out of Summerlin, you see Scott Piercy's there all the time. He might be like a first round leader or like a top 20 play. His recent form has been really good. Maverick McNeely, he's a Vegas guy. When you're starting to hit fairways and trying to fill it up, that kind of feels more like Maverick McNeely, but I'm going to keep a tight outright card near the top, probably Reed, maybe Neiman, probably Ricky Fowler. Maybe it's not that tight, but it's going to be cheap for those guys at the end, and then load up on top 20s and stuff for the rest of these guys. Let's look at some matchups because I already saw some really interesting ones that I want to run through the simulator. Hey guys, real quick, not sure if you heard, but Caesars bought William Hill and they have now rebranded the William Hill Sportsbook as Caesars Sportsbook. And because of this, they're going absolutely bonkers outside their mind with promotions. And the big one is that they're offering $5,000 in free bets. That is not an exaggeration. You did not mishear me. $5,000. It's the highest I've ever seen. It is by far, I'm sure, the highest any book has offered since gambling has become legalized state by state. It's absolutely nuts. You don't have to use it for golf. You can use it for whatever. Go to RickRunGood.com/bets. See if it's available in your state. I'll keep you updated as more states roll out. I know there's a couple coming on the horizon here, but my goodness, it is something you should definitely be taking advantage of if you have not yet. This is the head-to-head betting tool on RickRunGood.com. You can type in any two golfers for any time frame and see who is likely to win a 4-round matchup. And this one immediately out of the gate caught my attention. Webb Simpson versus Abraham Ancer, because these two are kind of cut from the same cloth, aren't they? I like both of these guys. They're both fairways and greens and putting guys. They're not going to overpower you with distance or with some raw talent. They're just kind of getting it done in different ways. Long term, I have Webb Simpson winning this 56% of the time, which puts him about minus 129. Caesars has him at minus 120 to Abraham Ancer's minus 105. What if we go more recent? Because Webb did not have a great 2020 and Ancer did. Still in favor of Webb. That's surprising because if you look on the surface, Webb did not have a great 2021. This is probably not bettable because it's right on the number of what Caesars is offering, but it is not the outcome I anticipated, but it still probably is not one that we can bet. This is interesting as well. So Brooks Koepka is getting zero love from odds makers this week in the head-to-head market. He is a dog to seemingly everyone. So let me pull this up. Victor Hovland versus Brooks Koepka. On Caesars, Hovland is minus 125, Koepka is plus 100. That's actually kind of what my simulator says as well. I have Hovland a little bit better than that, minus 134. There's also a couple of other Brooks ones that I saw. Let me just, I think they were on DraftKings actually. Let me pull these up real quick. Yeah, so Brooks is minus 110 to Abraham Ancer's minus 110, and he is a dog to Webb Simpson. So let's run those real quick, which I think we're going to be, okay, yeah, this one I have, so Brooks I have winning a 4-round matchup with Webb Simpson 62% of the time. He's even money to Webb Simpson's minus 120. That would have to be a bet. What was Ancer here? Well, if we know Webb beat Ancer, right? So Brooks should also beat Ancer. He does 51% of the time. And actually, those were different time frames for my web and answer one. Okay. So yeah, so the bet out of those is probably Brooks over Webb, which is interesting. I don't know why Brooks is, I mean, I know why. He's a volatile golfer. It's not a major championship, blah, blah, blah. But he's played well, I believe, at least once at Shriners, but he's not getting nearly the love that I think he should be seeing. Let's find one more with some kind of lower name guys here. We could do this one, McNeely and Streelman. Let's do since the start of 2021. We'll do Mav McNeely and Kevin Streelman. And we'll see what pops out here. Okay, I have Streelman winning this 57% of the time, minus 132. To McNeely, and they're both minus 110 at DraftKings. So you should probably bet the Streelman side of this. The other thing I'll tell you about Kevin Streelman is that okay, I got to pull this up real quick. If you look at his recent Summerlin form, it's not good. If you look at his full Summerlin form, it's much better. So here, let me show this to you. So last 5 trips has been cut, 51st, 67th, 61st. That's terrible. If you only look at that, you're in big trouble. If you consider his full history, because the 5 years before that, 16th, runner-up, 22nd, 16th, 14th. So you kind of have to decide how long of a window you want to look back at for Kevin Streelman here, because if you're willing to look back at a longer window and you think that is viable, which I kind of do, because he's only lost tee to green once out of those 10, even with the missed cuts and all that stuff. It was all because of a bad putter. I'm not putting that much stock in that. I think there's some value on Streelman this week just because most people are not going to look back at the full history. As far as one and done goes, if you are playing a one and done, and I know some of you are because I get the emails and I get the messages, I think there's 2 really logical answers. One is Abraham Answer. I won't beat you over the head with the reasons because we already talked about him. But Abraham Answer has finished 4th here in 2 of the last 3 years, and it's one of, if not the best spots on tour for him on paper. Right? He's a great bentgrass putter. It's not long. There's also with Answer, because he's kind of so solid and so good all over the place, he doesn't have a natural home. So when you start to look at the schedule and you start to pick out Webb at Wyndham and Hideki at Waste Management and, Rory at East Lake, whatever you want to do, JT in Memphis, I don't know what you want to do, but there's not a spot for Answer. So there's not really a spot that you're dying to save him for, which makes me feel like you should use him. Kevin Na is the other logical answer, just because of the history that he's had around here, kind of a similar thing. You don't really need to save him for anything else. He's a Las Vegas resident. He knows Summerlin very well. Has won here twice, a runner-up once as well. Putts it the lights out on bentgrass, no problem. So this early in the season, those I think are the 2 most logical plays for the one and done. All right, I think that'll do it. I'm going to head out to the course. I'm going to go see what's going on. The live chat, 3 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, will be critical. The room is already there, so if you want to start throwing your questions in now, it'll guarantee that I answer them, or at least give you a better shot because I start at the top. Otherwise, have a great week this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tweet me at RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. Best of luck, and we'll talk soon.